안녕하세요. 안녕.
Welcome back to the Study Abroad pod, where we dive into stories that inspire, connect, and take us around the globe. Today, we're throwing it back. And by it, I mean a flying disc. Picture this. Celeste Irwin, a Wright State University student and longtime K-pop fan, signed up to take classes in South Korea. But she's not just there to study abroad. She's there to soar through the ultimate Frisbee scene. From pickups to tournaments, she's competing internationally, winning games and making connections on and off the field. Guiding us through this episode is a USAC Verona alumna, Sophia DeYoung. They'll chat all about what it's like to be an athlete abroad, and Celeste will share how she balanced her studies with her athletic commitments, and of course, all the unforgettable moments in between.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Study Abroad pod. I'm Sophia, a USAC Verona alumni, and I'm here today with Celeste to talk about some athletics abroad. How are you doing today, Celeste?
I'm good. 안녕하세요. 저는 Celeste입니다. 저는 Wright State University에서 대학생이에요. That's all Korean. I just said, hi, my name is Celeste. I am a university student at Wright State University.
And when did you study abroad?
I studied abroad last year in South Korea in 2023. I studied in Gwangju at Chonnam University, and I was abroad for 7 months.
So you went a month early. What made you choose Korea specifically?
So I have liked K-pop for a long time. I've been liking K-pop since I was 13. So that's been 15 years now. And I also have been wanting to travel a lot. So I've always wanted to go to Korea, but also other places. I really have been interested in learning a lot of different languages. And when I was talking about wanting to do some traveling, my friend mentioned that she had gone to Korea to study abroad, and she was talking about her experience there and how it was a great experience and it was so fun. And so that was sort of where I started looking with my study abroad like options. And then when I was looking at the options, that was one of the cheaper programs. So I was like, well, I guess that just signs it. Like,
Yeah, that's so awesome. When you were in Korea, did you have trouble adapting to the culture norms though?
I don't think so. I always sort of joke when people were asking me before I went to Korea what I was looking forward to the most. The thing that I told them was public transportation. I was very excited because here in Ohio, we don't have a lot of public transportation. And I, going and learning what I learned, that was definitely the thing I should have been looking forward to, because public transportation is fantastic. And because of that, I sort of, when I was feeling a little bit lost or unsure, subway stations were always felt like safe spaces for me, because they always had like air conditioning, because I was there in the summer when I started out and it's really hot. They always had trash cans, restrooms. There was always like a convenience store like a 7-Eleven or a GS25, and I could always get water and food there, and there was a place to sit. And if I was in a subway station, then I could go anywhere I needed to. So I think it wasn't necessarily hard for me. I just sort of learned really quickly that subway stations are your friend.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have to know, I'm not too much into the K-pop world myself. I don't know a lot of artists or anything.
Yeah.
But who's your favorite K-pop artist?
So I'm a little bit of an old second generation girly. And so when I got into K-pop, it was around like 2010-ish. And my favorite group is SHINee. They debuted in, I think, 2008 or 2007. It seems like I'm such a bad fan, but it's fine.
So what about concerts? Did you ever go to a concert at all there?
So I bought tickets to SHINee World 6, which is a world tour that they were doing. And I went to that by myself, but I had a lot of fun. We're all fans of SHINee, so I got along with a lot of people. I did cry because I was so happy. And it was a really great concert. They always do so well. And then also Korean schools have these festivals, and I think each semester they have the festival, and they get like singers and stuff to like come sing at the festival. It's free. So it's not like a paid concert. And like, I don't know if anyone knows of Actong Musician, but they're like a very popular group. Like it's a brother sister duo, and they're very popular in Korea and some other countries. And they came and performed, and there was a couple other groups that came and performed. The band Lucy, a rapper called Uwon-jae, another rapper called Minoi. And I just happened upon the concert while my friend and I were walking around campus, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. So it was just crazy to me because, like, you know, Actong Musician, if they would have a concert, tickets would be like in the hundreds, you know, if not more. So they're very popular, and they just, you know, came to the school and performed. And that's a common thing for like a lot of K-pop stars to be invited to schools, and they perform for the students. So yeah.
That is awesome. Love a free concert too.
Absolutely.
All right. So I've never really seen Ultimate Frisbee. Can you tell us more about that and what the game is like?
So Ultimate Frisbee is the best game in the world. So Ultimate Frisbee is a sport that basically combines soccer, well, football, American soccer, whatever you want to call it, American football, and basketball. So the idea is that you have an American football size field, and there's 2 end zones, and there's 2 teams. Each team has 7 players on the field at a time. The goal is the people with the possession of the disc are trying to throw the disc to one of their teammates in the end zone. So you have to catch the disc in the end zone to get a score. So it's very similar to football. However, when you have the disc, you're not allowed to run. So it's sort of like basketball. You're allowed to pivot. But if you run or walk with the disc, then that's called a travel. And then it's the movement of the disc is very much like soccer. So American football is very like yards based. Like you need to get yards. You need to get closer to the end zone. Things like soccer and Ultimate Frisbee, it's much more fluid. Like we don't care about loss of yards because it's easy to get it back up the field. But the difference between soccer is that it's possession is very important. So it's most important is to keep possession because in soccer you see like possession going back and forth, and it's pretty easy for possession to change. With Ultimate Frisbee, I think it's much more difficult for possession to change. So you want to keep that possession because if you don't keep that possession, then it's very likely that the other team's going to score unless you play like very hard D. And games are usually to points, not to time. So generally regular games are like to 15. Whoever reaches 15 points first wins. We do have time caps in case the games go on long periods of time, and those just sort of work, you know, when the time cap goes off, you just lower the amount of points that you play to. And I think that's about it. It's a non-contact sport. Technically I think soccer is supposed to be non-contact, but it's not really. But Ultimate is much more non-contact than that. And one of probably the most important things about Ultimate is it's a self-officiated sport. So we have things called observers and advisors. So game observers and game advisors, those can sort of be synonymous to the referee role, but they do not make calls. It's the players that make the calls. And the whole sort of like tenet of Ultimate is that you're supposed to have this good sportsmanship, what we call spirit. And when you have good spirit, you're able to like talk with your competitors and reach an agreement about whether a foul happened or whether a violation happened or whatnot. And observers and advisors are pretty much there as resources to ask about specific rules, and you can ask for their opinion. Do you think this was a foul? Do you think this was not? But ultimately, the final call is up to the players. So that's one of the most important things about Ultimate is that it's self-officiated, and because of that, we have this very like almost like how can I say it? It's not like, I don't want to say like it's like a religious, but we like subscribe to this idea of spirit. Like we're very invested in having spirit, and a lot of times at big competitions, the Spirit Prize winners are the ones that are announced last, not the first place winners. The Spirit Prize winners are announced last because that's what we think is most important.
No, I love that. And I feel like it makes all the difference in a game when not only the crowd, but the team has spirit. because then
Mhm.
that just gets the crowd up and going too. So you're all going for the same goal. You want to see everybody happy.
Mhm.
But I want to know what got you into ultimate frisbee in the first place.
So I've gone to college a lot. I've been to like I think now 6 higher education institutions. Um, and so my very first college that I went to was a community college. And I decided that I needed to take at least one class that was a fitness class, that was something fun and not my major related. So that way I had times each week where I had to do physical activity because it's very difficult to juggle school and working out and stuff. And at that point, it'd been a while since I'd been athletic. So I originally started by taking a running class. I don't know why. I hate running. I'm sorry. I can't, I don't like it. But in the running class, the teacher also liked to play ultimate frisbee. So there was like 1 or 2 days where he said, today we're going to play ultimate frisbee. We played it once or twice, and then I sort of started liking it. And then there was an ultimate frisbee class, which is basically just here's a disc, we're going to play ultimate frisbee for the class period. So then I decided the next semester that that was the class I was going to take. So I started that. Once I finished that associate's degree, I sort of stopped playing ultimate because I had a lot, life was busy. And then I made a big move from New Mexico to Ohio. And when that happened, I thought to myself, I want to be in an activity. I want to meet new people. I'm not going to be able to meet people through school, and there's no one my age at my job. So I should start an activity. So I decided to look into ultimate. I started playing pickup in the area. The people that I played with invited me to play league, which is like recreational leagues in the area. And then I started playing club level, and then it's become my life now.
Awesome. And for those of us who don't know what pickup is, can you describe that?
So pickup is just like a group of people that meets at a certain time and place, and we just sort of divvy up teams based on how we feel, and then we just play games until people leave or until the time is up or whatever. So it's just a way to play with community members and get touches on the disc and whatnot.
Yeah, I love that. And kudos to you for putting yourself out there and doing everything that you did, starting from making yourself do a workout class and then putting yourself out there when you move. That's already a huge life adjustment. So to put yourself out there, not many people can do that. So good on you. I want to know about the game in Korea, though. How was the sportsmanship? Were the fans similar to how the fans are here? Run me through that.
Yeah, so I think people in Korea are very spirited. I do have to say, Korean culture is not very it's not very sporty per se. Like a lot of people play sports, but there's a lot of people that aren't very like invested in sports. It's more of a social activity, which is absolutely fine. We love people going as a social activity, but it's very like I would almost say people are a tiny bit more dainty about it. Like a lot of people aren't as like invested specifically in ultimate, but a lot of other sports too. Soccer is very popular there. But that being said, while it is still competitive, it's very, very spirited. There's a lot of sportsmanship. So, and there's, even while watching soccer, and I'm sure this is very different from like the like European levels of play and whatnot, but even though there is contact, it's like I think much less contact, like, and also it's like very like everyone is very polite, and everyone has a lot, I think a lot of sportsmanship. And so, and I mean specifically, like one example is me and my friend were watching this soccer tournament that the school was hosting, and it was different majors playing on teams in the soccer tournament, and there was a team for these like most of the players were Korean. There was some like exchange students playing on these teams, but there was one team that was like specifically exchange students, and I mean they knew how to play soccer very well. They were very good, but seeing them play a Korean team versus like two Korean teams playing, it was like very different. Like they were way more loud and competitive, and there was a lot more like arguing. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a good or a bad thing. Like some people play sports because it like gets their blood going and they like to like argue with the ref or whatever. But it was definitely much more arguing, whereas like a lot of the other games where it was just like Korean team versus Korean team, it was there wasn't as much arguing. There might have been some like contentious points, but not nearly as many as there was with like the exchange student team.
Gotcha. So can you tell me about your favorite game day in Korea?
So I would probably have to say, I mean, there's a lot of good. There's like hat tournaments. Probably the one that means the most to me is probably when we went to Korea, like nationals. So my club team that I was part of, we went to nationals for Korea. And it was like the second day. And something that I've struggled with playing Ultimate is I struggle with like almost like imposter syndrome or feeling like I'm always doing something wrong. And I definitely have struggled with like highly competitive situations. I get very nervous and I start not playing well. And so that's something that I, before Korea, had been trying to work on. And Korea definitely gave me a big opportunity to work on that. But on the second day of nationals, I felt like we had done great the first day. And the second day was like pretty important because we were playing some of the more difficult teams. And we were playing, I guess, the favorite to win nationals in the morning. And then we were going to have to play them a second time for the first place title. And so we were warming up and our coach isn't like super heavy on the compliments. And he's very like all business. And so I was really struggling with some like negative self-talk, and I was struggling with like feeling like I wasn't doing well and all this stuff. And I just ended up starting to get overwhelmed. And so I went over to my captain, who is a wonderful person. And I said, Uju, I am feeling overwhelmed and I need help. And he was like, okay, like, tell me what's going on. Let me see if I can help. And I was like, I feel like I'm doing everything wrong. Adam just said that he said my name, but I don't know what he wanted me to do. I don't know if he meant I was doing it correctly or if I needed to do something else. And I just don't know if I'm doing everything wrong. And I just can't. He said, okay, it's okay. I haven't been paying attention to you specifically, but I'll like pay attention to you more and let you know if there's anything that I see that you can be doing better. And then I can go talk to Adam and see if he has any feedback for you. And like, I think, it's all going to be well. And even though I didn't really get any feedback, like hearing that from him and knowing that like my teammates had my back, my captain had my back, and they were willing to help me when I was like feeling, like I was struggling, that really helped me, and that sort of calmed me down. And then, I was able to calm down and I was able to contribute a lot. And then, during one of the games, I got a compliment from the coach. So I was like, oh my gosh, great. And then we went on to win the nationals tournament and life was great. So that was probably the most memorable. I was happy to be there with my teammates. I was so happy to have teammates that I could trust to be vulnerable with and to support me. And, just having that like teamwork like situation, like it was just wonderful.
That is awesome. The community, the backbone, the helping each other out. That's something that I reflect on a lot on my study abroad time, and something that I didn't think that I would create until I was there and in the moment. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in another country. I don't really know how to speak the language. What are we doing here? But that is so awesome. And I'm really glad that you had people around you to help facilitate that sense of community and protection for you. And at the end of the day, help you through what you're feeling. On other days when you weren't feeling as good, what processes did you do? Did you set yourself up? Did you do like meditation to help you become calm and go forward with your situations?
So I would say I did a lot of walking, which I don't do a lot of in the US because not a lot of places are very walkable, especially where I live. Walking helps a lot. And I'm probably going to sound like a broken record, but like the community I have was the best thing. So, and I met a bunch of new people. Most of the people that I met were Ultimate Frisbee players. One person I met, it wasn't until fall semester that she came, but she was also one of the international students, and she was in my group because they create little buddy groups with like 2 Korean students and then some international students, so you have a support system. She was really the only one in my group that I spent any time with, but I was actually feeling very, very anxious about using the cafeteria for the first time because I didn't know the process. I didn't know anyone who had used the cafeteria before. At this point, I didn't feel very confident in my Korean. Now I would feel okay going and asking things in Korean. But I was very anxious, and so I was like, I just need to go to dinner with some people, because usually if I'm with other people, my like mom persona takes over, and I'm like, okay, I need to take care of the other people so I don't have time for social anxiety, so then I can do these things. And even that was like very nerve-wracking. But we met the first time. We didn't end up going into the cafeteria. We decided to go to a restaurant right by the cafeteria, but we sat down and we started talking, and she's from France. And then it's sort of like history from there. She's like one of my best friends. We contact each other a lot still, and we spent almost all of our time together. So we had classes together. We would go everywhere together. We took trips together. She would come watch me play Ultimate. And so we, a lot of times, both of us were not feeling well, or we were having a hard time with something. And honestly, we would just walk, and then, if we happen to stop by Baskin Robbins, we might get some ice cream, and then we might go to the like sports field and like watch some like, cute guys play soccer or run on the track, like that may or may not have been our favorite activity.
I don't blame you.
yeah, but we were a very big support for each other. And even like towards the end, there was one night we had been hanging out, and then we both went to our dorm rooms, and like not 10 minutes later, I like texted her. I was like, I'm not doing great. And she was like, what's wrong? I'm like, I don't know, I'm just not doing great. And so she like came down to my room, and I just like started crying, and I was like, I just feel like nobody likes me. And she was like, it's okay. And then she started crying, and we just had this like little cry fest. And then we were, then we started joking with each other and laughing about stuff. So she was definitely a big like, help to me. And I just think in general, like having the people that I had and having her, just like, that's the most important thing that helped me feel better in almost any situation.
Yeah, sometimes you really do got to cry it out. And I can relate to you heavy on finding an international bestie. In my study abroad program, I met my best friend who now lives in Australia. Yeah, so it's really awesome to see, because you don't know what to expect from study abroad, and then you do it, and then you're like, I mean, I knew I didn't know what to expect, but I also didn't expect that, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah. And I like, that's actually, I think, one of the hardest things about not just studying abroad, but traveling abroad. Like, I feel like my heart is split in a bunch of different pieces, because like I have a friend in Florida. She's like one of my best friends. I've got my friend in France. I've got so many people in Korea. I went to Taiwan this last summer, and I've got like a couple people there. And like, it just feels like my heart's just like split into so many different areas. And like, no matter where I go, I'm always going to leave pieces of my heart other places. And I was only in Taiwan for like 3 weeks, but there's still people that I like left there, and I was like, I just want to see you again.
I totally understand. Literally, I'm like, my heart is still in Europe, and I'm like itching to go back.
Oh yeah.
It's, while like it is like a really like I miss it feeling, it's, to me, I'm also like, I'm really grateful that like you have, like, you get to meet those kind of people, and that you can have so much love for them, like you do. And you know what? Now you're just an international rock star, and now you can go to Taiwan, and you might have a place to stay.
Yeah, it's great just having people and be like, hey, can I just like crash on your floor for a bit?
Yeah, those were the best times. Times.
Absolutely.
So did you know any Korean before you arrived in Korea?
So I had what I call like the K-pop / K-drama starter pack to Korean. I knew all of the important things, like how to say I love you, and all the like pet names to call people. I know how to say like hi and thank you and I'm sorry. And yeah, I knew some basic stuff. I had learned how to write in Korean or read Korean from like a little comic strip online. And so I already sort of knew how to read, but I was like very rusty on how to read the letters. So I had a very like tenuous grasp of some words, but I really didn't know a lot about sentence structure and a lot of things.
So what about in class? Did you take Korean language?
So I took a Korean language class, like everyday Korean level 1 in the summer, and that was the only class I took in the summer. And in the fall, I continued on to do everyday Korean 2. And so that was sort of like I think it was pretty easy for me. I enjoy learning languages and I enjoyed it, so that's probably part of why it seemed easy to me. But a lot of Korean level 1 was teaching you how to read or write in Korean and some basic things like hello and my name is, and I sort of knew, a lot of that stuff, because when you watch K-pop stars introduce themselves over and over again, you tend to pick up on what the introduction is.
Yeah.
So I already knew some things, and that was like pretty helpful. And so I was a little bit, I think, impatient to get more into the like conversational areas of Korean, because I definitely wanted to like practice with my teammates, and there were some of my teammates that spoke English less well, and so I really wanted to like get into the part where I could start speaking to them in Korean and learning all the like slang and like what the kids are saying nowadays and all that jazz.
Yeah, so by the end of it, did you feel like comfortable to navigate the city and basic interactions on your own?
Yeah, I definitely did. Like by the end, I think I was very confident. I think a lot of people commented that I learned a lot while I was there. One of my ultimate friends that hardly spoke any English, she said, like, every time I see you, it seems like you're just like leaps and bounds ahead of where you were before with Korean. And I think a lot of that is attributed to having the people to practice it with, even more so than my classmates in class. Like playing ultimate, it makes me like not afraid to like try something, like try a new phrase or like try and talk to people, because if I mess up, then they just like laugh and tell me what the right one is, or like it becomes an inside joke or something. I think that was really, really helpful and really sped my learning on a lot. Now, one of the funniest things with learning Korean was I would get like really nervous at like restaurants or like in those things, and I would often focus on like, okay, what's the question I'm going to ask to like know things? And then I would figure out the question. I would practice it. I'd be like, okay, this is great. And then I would ask the question. And then I realized that I did not look through what the possible responses to the question were. So I could ask the question, but did I understand any of what they said to me? No. But like, I got a lot better at that. And so, yeah, so now I'm pretty good with restaurants. The next step is to get through the post office and the bank in Korean. Those are my next obstacle. So, yeah.
Yeah. Plenty of times I was in your same position and ordering in a restaurant, and then I looked and I was just like, and then the waiter saw my face and then they were able to speak to me in English. Yeah. So I was very grateful for that, but
yeah.
That definitely was funny.
Yeah. So even though I took classes to learn Korean, and I had a lot of people that I could practice speaking Korean with, there was one thing that actually I think taught me the most Korean, and it's sort of stupid. Well, it's my favorite thing ever. But I became very well known for learning and telling Korean dad jokes. And those probably taught me the most Korean out of everything. And I am a menace, very much a menace. These dad jokes, they're called aje gege, which basically just mean dad jokes in Korean, essentially. And that is one of my favorite pastimes, is telling a dad joke and seeing everyone's reaction, because people get so mad about it. I tell a dad joke and they're like, get out of here, we don't want to talk to you. And they're all joking, but that was like I think that was something like that surprise, like when I met someone new, like a new Korean, I would tell like a dad joke and they wouldn't even be expecting it. It was like coming out of left field, and they think I'd be asking, like I'd ask a question and they think I'd be asking a legitimate question, and then I'd give them this like nonsense answer, and then they'd be like, oh man, like you got me. So yeah, that like those achegege, they're the best thing in the world.
I like it. I like that tactic a lot.
Yeah, and there's so many like funny stories. I've become a lot more comfortable, I think, with like navigating new languages, even if I don't know anything from them. Even this summer when I went to Taiwan, I don't know any Taiwanese. I don't know any Mandarin. I know how to say hi. That's it. But even with people that like barely spoke English, I feel much more comfortable like basically talking through a translator app, and like I still feel like I can get that like person to person connection even though we don't speak the same language. And I think that's also a big thing. Like some people are just like really like nervous about using the translation app, and I'm like, they're just like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know English. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I don't know like your language. And so it's much like it's fine to just use a translation app to talk to someone. It's like perfectly fine. People are still nice. So
Yeah. I think that was the most intimidating part for me, but I had a lot of those interactions. There was a staple coffee shop right by our school that we would always go to.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a lot of those same interactions, and
yeah,
I was very decently surprised at like how welcoming and open they were to my little knowledge of Italian. So I'm glad that you had also same experience, and that helped you hopefully feel a little bit more comfortable in your space and in your study abroad. But I want to know, overall, reflecting on your entire time abroad, how would you say you've changed?
I feel like I've changed a lot. I feel like the biggest thing is that this is going to sound like super cheesy and whatnot, but I feel like I found a sense of inner peace. And I feel like I have learned to be happy with my own company, which I think is something that a lot of people struggle with. And I don't think I really realized it right away. And it sort of turned me more into an introvert. But I've noticed, especially since I've got back from Korea, I am very much more happy to like be on my own. I like having my own space. I like doing things on my own. I don't feel uncomfortable going by myself to places to eat food or get coffee. And I think it's very different from before, because before I went to Korea, I think it's a slow thing that's been going on, and Korea just sped it up. But before I went to Korea, I would always be looking for people to spend time with. Like, no matter what we were doing, I would always be happy to be around people. And I would almost like sacrifice my like whether I like this person or not, just to be around a person. And now I feel like I'm much more like I guess like picky about the people I spend time with, because I only want to spend time with people that bring joy to me and that I actually want to be around, instead of just like the needing to be around anyone regardless of who they are. So I think the like independence of like having to do all of this by myself and not even knowing anyone when I went to Korea and having to figure all this out for myself, it really like brought this like sense of like, I'm comfortable with myself, I'm happy to hang out with myself, I like myself, and I'm a good friend to myself. So having that like sense of independence and like peace of like, I know I can be happy just on my own, and I don't really need people I don't need to be around people to feel like whole, like a whole person. So
you put it beautifully. I totally understand and agree with what you're saying. I have been looking for the words on like how to describe it, and I feel like I've done a very, very, very lengthier process on explaining that. But inner peace is definitely, it's beautiful. It literally is beautiful. I loved it. And my favorite thing was going around town by myself and like people watching and listening to the language. Even no matter where I went, I love listening to different languages because it's so, so beautiful. And I'm speechless about it to this day, as I am right now.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I again, a lot of walking by myself. Now, be safe about it, right? Korea is very safe. I think Korea is a very safe place for foreigners to go to, because there's always people around, so it's not like you're going to be in like a dark alley or whatnot, and there's always lights on even at night. But yeah, I felt comfortable and safe enough to be able to walk at any time of the day and just walk somewhere and be comfortable with myself and watch people and listen to people. And I think I sort of liked it because I didn't know what people were saying. So then I didn't have to like pay attention. I just was hearing sounds. And I think that was very calming. And then also I didn't get like annoyed with what people are saying, because sometimes, when I hear what they're saying, I'm like, are you silly? But yeah, so having that, just like, and having the anonymity and just being able to relax by yourself and not have people, that's what I liked a lot about Korea, is not worrying about people approaching me and like talking to strangers and whatnot. That was sort of nice for me. It's not necessarily for everyone, but I really, really liked that.
Absolutely. So I want to know, do you have any advice or tips for future students going abroad or traveling in general to connect with the local culture?
I mean, ultimate frisbee.
Ultimate frisbee, yes.
Everyone should play ultimate frisbee. I am sort of like beating a dead horse, but like ultimate frisbee is my community no matter where I go. I played in Taiwan when I went to Taiwan. When I went to like the first day, I played pickup in Korea like the second day that I was there. And, I knew 0 people in Korea at that point. And once I played pickup, I knew like 20 people. And I met one of my other best friends who was a Korean American, and we had played in the same tournament in the US. We just never met each other. And so, ultimate frisbee really has been my rock, because I always feel like I fit in there and I always feel like I'm welcome. But also, like, I think it goes like further than that, is like just like activities. So like finding group-based activities that like take the like sort of awkwardness around like first introductions, or like breaking through that like introduction barrier, because a lot of like having just a lot of like activities you can go to, it's like there's something that you're doing, so it's like, oh, let me help you with that, or like, do you have any questions, or like, oh, nice to meet you, like, do you like doing this, how long have you done this? Having that like shared activity that you can talk about and do together, and then you meet people through it, and then you can and then you meet other people because they have friends that do this other thing that you like as well, and then, oh, let's go to this concert with these friends, or let's go to a movie together, or let's go eat together. So just finding like an activity, like a sport or anything, really will really help you meet people in like a non-awkward, socially anxious way.
Absolutely. Well, last but not least, if you were to study abroad again, would you do anything differently?
I think the thing that I would just remember is just do it. One of my captain commented, he was like, well, it's not like I'm not going to see you again. You're planning to come back. I'm like, yeah, but you never know. And like the most important thing for me is like, even if I do see you again, I want people to know how I feel about them, because humans don't say enough how people like make them feel, or the impact that they've had on them. And I just think it's really important, no matter if you're going to see them tomorrow, like, it's just say it right now. Like, thank you so much, or I really care about you, or like, you're one of my best friends, or like, I'm so glad I met you and I'm going to miss you. Like, those things are just like so important to say. It's just like, you always want someone to know how you feel about them and how they've helped you, or how they've, impacted you. And so, just taking the leap and saying the maybe embarrassing thing, or saying the thing, that's nerve-wracking, or doing the thing that might be embarrassing, like asking someone out, or like being like, I want to be your friend. Like, those things, just do it, because you've got a short timeline. Like, even when I was in Taiwan, I definitely was like, I should have done this sooner, or I should have said this thing sooner. Just, do the thing you want to do, say the thing you want to say, make those connections. Even if you make a fool out of yourself, it's just, a joke for later. It's just a funny story for later. Just do it for the plot,
I love your perspective. You got me tearing up over here a little bit and chills. Like, I'm being so serious. Like, just that everything that you said is so true, and something that I heavily believe in as well, and something that being abroad did teach me.
Mhm.
You know, like you said, you have a friend in France now, and
Yeah.
I have a friend in Australia.
Yeah.
I fortunately got to see her this year, which was not expected,
Yay.
but you know, you
Yeah.
never really know. So, like Celeste said, make those connections, be
Yeah.
brave, just make yourself
Yeah.
happy and be your authentic self.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if I just repeated myself twice, and if I did, whoops. But
It's
Celeste,
important. It
yeah,
deserves repeating.
absolutely. It was great to get to talk to you today and learn a little bit more about your experience abroad, especially with Ultimate Frisbee. I might
Me
have to
too.
try it out now.
Yeah, you definitely have to. I 100% recommend it.
Yeah, your blog post was awesome too. You're
Thank
a
you.
great writer.
Oh,
I was
thank
reading
you.
this and I was like, okay. But like I said, again, it was great to get to talk to you, and I'm glad that
Yeah.
you were able to share your experience. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Study Abroad Pod, a podcast brought to you by the University Studies Abroad Consortium. Please listen, subscribe, and review us on Buzzsprout or wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow USAC on all your favorite social media channels at Study Abroad USAC. And if you have an idea for a future episode, or you want to learn more about study abroad, you can email us at studyabroad@usac.edu.